Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another live Antwoord Movie Mania. And because we are live, it is interview time. Now, my special guest became an original horror icon because he is the original Jason Voorhees from the original Friday the 13th, which spawned an entire franchise. Not only that, he is an amazing musician and he is in his own rock band, First Jason, which we will get into. But there's many other things along the way that we will get into as well. So I would like to welcome to the channel Ari Lehman.
Hey, Anthony. Yes, it's me, Ari Lehman, rhymes with demon, the first Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th. And I'm happy to say cheers to everybody in the UK. First Jason got to perform at For the Love of Horror in Manchester, which was quite a thrill.
Oh, we will get into that like in a bit, I promise. So
Okay, I might mention things that you're not dwelling on at any given moment, Anthony. That's how life is, brother.
It's absolutely fine.
Yeah, we've been there twice, in fact, 2 times. But we'll talk about that later, I guess.
Yeah. So before we get started, I just want to say a big thank you. I know you've got your like a hectic schedule and everything like that. So I always like to say thank you for taking your time out your day, coming on my channel, just chatting and shooting the breeze with me and everything like that. So just a big thank you before we get started.
Awesome, dude. Let's jump into it.
All right. So my first question of the day is, how's your day going?
How's my day going?
Yeah,
it's been a busy day. My band, we just got signed to a label called CDN Records. So people are starting to buy the CD, and I spent most of the day filling orders and going to the post office.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, that's why, it took a while. And then, other than that, just doing the regular things, walking my dog and all that good stuff.
All right. Fair enough.
How about you? How's your day going?
My day has been pretty good, actually. I've been getting all this set up. I've been for a walk. I go for a walk every morning, so I like to do that. I've took my son to football training, so I get to watch him play football. Yeah, pretty much just a relaxing day for me. Thank you for asking.
That's what life is all about, bringing the kid to soccer practice. That's good, as we call it here in America.
Yeah, soccer, yeah.
Football, yes, of course.
Right. So before we get into Friday the 13th,
do you know there's a connection between soccer, football, and my character? Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Well, did you know that the movie that I auditioned for in order to get into Friday the 13th, of course, I didn't audition for Friday the 13th at all. There was no audition to play Little Jason. You see, I had been working with Sean Cunningham, the director of Friday the 13th, on a previous movie. And that movie was about a ragtag bunch of orphans who win their orphanage back from the mafia in a soccer tournament. It's called Manny's Orphans.
Right. So that was one of my questions. I was going to ask you in a couple of questions. So if you want to talk about that now, it's absolutely fine.
So yeah, I figured so, Anthony. So listen, but more interestingly, there's a connection there between soccer because Sean Cunningham thought that soccer was going to be big in America. In 1978, he made this comedy about soccer. And so I went to the YMCA in Westport, Connecticut. Friday the 13th was not shot in Hollywood. It was shot in New Jersey. So the audition was in Connecticut, in the town that I happened to grow up in. So, yeah, I auditioned for this movie about soccer, largely because some friends of mine knew about the audition. They knew I was a decent soccer player and that I liked to act. They said, get over to the YMCA and audition. And I landed an 80-line role in that movie of Roger, the girl-obsessed wingman of the lead role, who's trying to pass off his sister as a boy in the orphanage. So it was one of those kind of 80s movies with comedy and, you know, a lot of kids doing a lot of crazy stuff. But Paramount Pictures passed on Manny's Orphans probably because nobody in America played soccer in 1978. So there you go. Sean Cunningham turned around and he called me up on the phone. He said, Ari, we've got another different movie project. We need you to come down as soon as you can. I said, oh, yeah? Okay. He goes, can you swim? And I said, yes, I can swim. And he said, great, you got the part. So that's how I got the part of the first ever Jason Voorhees in Friday the 13th.
All right. Well, before we delve further into that, take us back just before you started auditioning, because you had you've still got a passion for music. Like, how did having a passion for music start? Can you tell us about that?
Oh, well, probably the way it starts with everyone. You know, you just love music so much that you want to start playing music.
So, obviously, you self-taught yourself to play instruments. Is that right?
No, who told you that? That's totally untrue. I had amazing.
I've read some.
No, I grew up in Westport, Connecticut, where there was amazing teachers all around me. As a matter of fact, my teacher was the wife of the man who created the jazz theory program for the Juilliard School of Music, and he taught Herbie Hancock and Chick Corea and others. So yeah, my teacher was a very prominent piano teacher.
All right. So
Right. So I was given a scholarship by Jimmy Heath and Dr. Billy Taylor to go to the Berklee School of Music.
Wow.
Yeah. So I wasn't self-taught, brother. And as a matter of fact, I became a very competent jazz piano player. I was a major in jazz at New York University. And then I decided to work in world music, which was really big in the 1990s. I ended up working for Tough Gong, which is Bob Marley's label, and Interscope Records, which is Jimmy Iovine's label. And I actually traveled for years as a member of a band from Nigeria, West Africa. And then I actually went to play in Africa, in Abidjan, in the Ivory Coast. So, yeah, that was a very in-depth experience. And then that led to me performing at the Apollo Theater and getting a standing ovation with a band from Nigeria. And then I started working in the reggae music business for a long time. But as you recall, reggae music kind of subsided in terms of popularity. And that's when I began to investigate the fandom world of horror. And people reached out to me, in particularly Mr. Tony Timpone of Fangoria magazine. And so he's the first one who ever asked me to attend a horror convention, which was at the Meadowlands in New Jersey. And yeah, so that's where I started and getting back into the entire fandom scene. And I kind of, realized that I should put together a metal band because that's what horror fans love, metal and punk. So I put that together, and that's how First Jason was born, my friend.
All right, okay. And when you were talking about going to the schools and learning piano, how hard is it to learn how to play piano? Because I've tried it and it's just I haven't got the fingers for it.
I don't know if I have the answer to that question, Anthony. Maybe we should go on to questions that I could answer you about being the first Jason Voorhees.
Right, we will get into let's delve.
We don't have that much time, brother. I can't become your piano teacher in this moment. kind of an odd question to ask me.
Fair enough. All right, right, let's get into it. So you took the Sean Cunningham. He obviously you got the rollers for the soccer film Manny's Orphans, and then Sean Cunningham asked you to go for Jason.
Yes, because ultimately Paramount Pictures did not buy the well, they kind of did. They distributed it overseas. And so you could see me like overdubbed into Italian and Japanese and Portuguese and all these wonderful languages, playing soccer. And, no, but yeah, they turned to him and said, look, you had a success with Last House on the Left with Wes Craven. So why don't you do a horror movie? And he had seen the success of Halloween. So then he thought of this idea, Friday the 13th. And he turned to the writer, Victor Miller. And that's how they developed the story about a summer camp.
Ah, right, okay. So, like, how long were you on set for? If you, can you remember?
That's a good question. Yeah. Most of the time was spent with Tom Savini working on the makeup. So first they had to cast my head in plaster, and then they build the mask, and then they cast the mask, and then they put it on your face. Then there was a glass eye and their false teeth. We had to have all the fitting done. And this was all done by Mr. Tom Savini and his assistant, Tasso Stavrakis. So you could see all of the work that they did in Tom Savini's book, by the way. He has several books. Two of them show the entire procedure we went through. Yeah. And when we were on the set, so if there was let's say an 8 o'clock call for, when they start shooting, I would have to be there about 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning to start getting that makeup on.
Oh my God. So like that must have took like what a good few hours to get it all.
About 4 hours each time.
Oh my God.
So wow, I was there twice to film the drowning sequence, because the first time the director felt that it looked too realistic and people would feel sorry for Jason. So the second time they kind of smushed his nose and made his face look a little more, disgusting a little bit, so that there would be this, like revulsion as well as, sympathy, which is a big part of Friday the 13th, unlike Michael Myers, who's just straight up evil. Jason has a certain, a relationship with mom and something that makes him a little bit dialed back, in a way. A little more relatable.
Since you mentioned Jason's mum there, when you were on set, did you ever get to meet Betsy Palmer, who played Mrs. Void?
Well, not on the set, of course, because all of my scenes were in the lake. Yeah. But Betsy and I did become very good friends at the conventions. In fact, the convention that I mentioned to you in Meadowlands was the first time that I met Betsy. Betsy shared the same birth date as my real mother, November 1st. And she took me under her wing. She was just an amazing, wonderful person. I loved her to pieces. And whenever we would do a convention together, we would eat dinner together, and she would give me advice and tell me stories. And, she was on Broadway. She was in a lot of big movies like Mr. Roberts with Henry Fonda and Jack Lemmon. She's just a great, great person. I'm very happy to have been her friend.
All right. Oh, that's nice. That's nice to know. That's like a nice story to know about. It's a good bringing together type of story, like after the film had finished. And
nice. We were. She ate vegetarian food. I'm a vegetarian, so that's why a lot of times when everybody else would go off to the steakhouse or something, and then she and I would go to eat Chinese food or sit down to have some Italian food and split a bottle of wine, and we would just have a good time together. And she was a class act. Let me tell you, she was very punctual and very careful about her work. Her work ethic was without parallel. And yeah, I miss her a lot, you know. But then again, I look back and she had such a great life, you know. She lived a full, great, wonderful life, and she taught me a lot of good things. And so I feel like Jason does about Mom, but you know, she was nothing like the character, of course.
I'm gonna say.
She was not like that. She was a sweetheart, but she could play any kind of character. And Adrienne King is really the star of Friday the 13th, because if you watch the movie, it's mainly her, and she's excellent at portraying fear, you know. Like, I love that scene where she's in the closet waiting for Mom, and then Mom comes and it's almost like, here's Johnny. She like smashes through the, you know. And it's interesting when you think about it, because that scene, both of those films, The Shining and Friday the 13th, were released the same year. They were both filmed 1979, released 1980.
All right. Oh, do you know? I've never realised that, actually.
A little horror trivia for you.
Yeah. Well, I'm normally quite good on my horror trivia, but that's caught me off there. Caught me off. Right. So, did you know at the time, like, you were making something special?
Well, I mean, I think I probably thought it was more special than anybody else on the set, because I was a little kid, you know, and it was so exciting for me. It was just such an adventure, you know, and to watch the camaraderie and the fun that everybody had working hard together. And then what was special, I think, in a way, it was kind of one of the first really independent, low budget films that got across, you know. Of course, there's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which really started everything. But Friday the 13th was low budget, and I watched how resourceful they were. Tom Savini and Sean Cunningham, and the director of photography, Barry Abrams, and the whole team. They all worked together, like making the most of what they had in front of them. They didn't. So I guess we had no idea, you know, that it would ever really, that it would capture people's imagination so much. And of course, we have to point out that it's part 3 where the hockey mask is introduced, that really, you know, got people to just love that character of Jason Voorhees. And that's I don't know if you know that but Richard Brooker played Jason in part 3, and he was also from the United Kingdom.
All right.
Yes, Richard Brooker was to wear the hockey mask in part 3, 3D. That was the first movie with the hockey mask in it, and it starred Richard Brooker as Jason Voorhees. Richard Brooker was British, and he also lived in South Africa, and he moved to America. He was a trapeze artist, a circus performer, a tightrope walker, okay? But a very intelligent man, okay? He went on after acting and stunt manning to be a director. He directed television. He directed 10 episodes of Bill Nye the Science Guy.
All right.
And he was, okay, here's another British connection. He was good friends with Gordon Ramsay, the chef.
What?
Okay, yeah. And so he invented, I kid you not, Richard Brooker, the first man to wear the hockey mask, created the sizzle cam. When they would go into the sizzle mode, you know, on the frying pan.
All right. Okay.
Yes, Richard invented that. And he invented a bunch of things. He got an Academy Award for inventing, well, to simplify it, a piece of technology that helped news organizations at that time get news instantly, like we're so used to doing it now. But he actually used a system that he learned from the military to and he got an Academy Award for that.
Oh, wow.
Anyway, and that was the first guy. So you remember in part 3, like the Jason that shoots the harpoon gun and all that. That's Richard Brooker.
All right. So how? Because when you're in the water, like, how do you prepare for the part where you had to jump up and bring her in?
Oh, well, there's 2 scenes now, Anthony. The first scene where Mama is saying, he was my only son, and today is his birthday. He wasn't a very good swimmer. His name was Jason. And then she flashes back, and you see Jason drowning. And he's saying, help, Mommy, he's drowning, okay? So that was going to be the only scene of Jason Voorhees in all of cinematic history. So we wrapped in 1979, August of 1979, we wrapped, and there was no final sequence where little Jason grabs Alice. That was not in the movie yet. So Paramount Pictures, again, they wouldn't buy the movie. This was the second shot that Sean had. And strike 2, they said, the old lady gets her head chopped off, the little boy drowns. We need something else. We need an ending. This is like sad at this point, you know? So it was Tom Savini who came up with this ending where little Jason, now who's been underwater for 11 years, is all covered in muck and comes up out of the water very briefly and grabs poor Alice, pulling her down into the water. But if you remember, she wakes up in the hospital. So what really happened in that scene? There's a lot of debate. But so when we did the first scene, as I said, we did it twice. The second time we did it in one take. I got in the water. I pretended that I was drowning. They were like, perfect. So when Sean called me for the second part, it was in October. Okay, he calls me up. He goes, we need you to come back to the set. So I figured, the little boy had drowned. So I said, I'm dead. What do you want me to do? Like lie on the beach? I was literally like, should I float in the water like this? So he goes, no, you get your revenge, he says. He lied. He told me I got my revenge. So I get to the set and, we've developed all the new makeup elements and they hand me the script. It says Alice's Dream. So theoretically, it's all a dream sequence. And but the way they did it, Sean wanted to scare the actress. And he achieved that because she was waiting for him to say action in the boat. And he whispers to me, he says, go out in the water. The cameras are rolling. Just look up. And when the bubbles clear, that's action. And then just come out and grab Adrian. So, yeah. So I thought, okay, I didn't let her see the mask at all. She's just sitting there waiting for him to say action, So I go underwater and I didn't have much time to think about it. So I said, what's my motivation? And then I thought, bitch killed my mom. So I grabbed the side of the boat and I just come out of the water like, bitch killed my mom, that, she's going down, And I think, then I look down and I see this nice lady who I've barely met, and she's looking at me and she just lets out the most horrific scream. And they caught that. Okay, you'll see that in the movie. Because what they did was they sandwiched the first take between the second take. Because, Anthony, she grabbed my arms and said, get the fuck off of me, and fell into the water. saying, "Oh shit," and she fell, which is probably what Sean thought she would do. But anyway, she turns to me and she says, "Hey, you jumped the gun. He didn't say action." And I'm looking at him like, what do you want me to say? There's even a picture of this. So then they did the second take, you see. And, you know, he even says, very dry humor of Sean Cunningham. He says, "Ari, we're doing the second take. Please don't manhandle our actress this time." And I thought, wow, this is wonderful, you know. But anyway, so that's how it happened. They did the second take, and they sandwiched the second take around that first take where they get that close-up of poor Alice, poor Adrian. And she probably never forgave me for that, really. Kind of.
So in the film, that's like a genuine reaction to.
If you watch, you can even watch it on the GIF. In other words, I come up, it's a medium shot, and then it goes in close. It's just my face. It's like, ah. And then you see her go, oh, they just cut it. Yeah, they spliced that with a razor right where, you know, so it's movie magic, baby. But you know what? When you think about how low budget it was, and it was a happy accident that it came out that way. I don't even know if Sean knew how much energy I was going to come out of the water and seem very ferocious all of a sudden, you know? Maybe he thought, oh, he'll just be like a little child flopping over. But no, you know, I thought of what my motivation was, and I gave it my all. And I think that's why it's probably one of the most famous jump scares of all time. I mean, you know, you could say what you want about being a big Jason with a little box office. I'd rather be a little Jason with a big box office, which is what Friday the 13th, the first one, if you took all the other Friday the 13th and put their box offices together, it would not equal Friday the 13th. And that's the truth. And the only other one that came close is, well, actually, that surpassed it is Freddy versus Jason, because that's a Freddy versus Jason movie. Yeah. And who knows? There's still more to come. But I'm happy to say this, Anthony, and, you know, we'll have to wrap it up pretty soon. But I want to say that if you were to take the brief moments that I was on screen and divide it by the number of people that I've scared in 45 years, that has got to be a Guinness Book of World Record for the most people scared in the least screen time.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, then we'll make this out my last question.
No, you can ask a couple more. Dinner's not ready yet.
all right, I'll ask a few more then.
Yeah.
So, like,
what do you want? What do you personally want to know about Friday the 13th or Jason Voorhees? You yourself, what are you interested in knowing?
Me, well, it was that the last bit that you were in, because the first time I ever watched it, I was, believe it or not, I was about 18, 19. I was like a late, like, okay. I'm like a big horror fan. Like, I've seen loads of horrors, but like Friday the 13th, I was like on the put back. I don't know why, I was like on the put back of like films. And when I watched it, considering like I was that old, that scene, because I just like, I don't know if I wasn't paying attention to the ending, but when you came up, it generally got me. Just, you know, when you're like, you're just like watching the, like, in and out of it, and then you're like, when you came out,
yeah. Well, that was the intention of Tom Savini, to make it feel like the movie was over. They did everything. They have the water and the morning sun, and two policemen arrive, and they're like, "Are you okay?" And you're just watching the policeman, "Are you okay?" And there's Alice, and everything seems fine. And then the music, that's the big trick. they use that music to swell up like it's all going to be whack, whack, whack.
That's what I mean. I thought like the film was done, and then that happened, and I was like, it just.
Well, you can see why Paramount Pictures, after they saw that sequence and they texted it with a test audience, they said, this is a new movie. This is a different film than you showed us before. And they distributed Friday the 13th in 800 theaters across the United States on the same day. This had never been done before. And one of the reasons is because I guess they didn't want people to tell each other about the ending. But it was crazy. People started to bring their friends as if it was like a haunted house, you know, like, oh, I'm going to bring my friend and not tell him and wait till he pisses his pants.
Right, let's talk quickly about your band first, Jason. How did that come about?
Well, I've been a musician all along. As a matter of fact, after Friday the 13th, I decided I wanted to do music more than acting. So, as I said, I went to New York City. I was in jazz, and then boom, boom, I got into the world music industry. But when Tim Pone invited me to that first horror con, I looked around and I said, wow, you know, I need to hit these people where they live, which is metal, which is punk. So I thought of this idea, First Jason, and I got help from a lot of great musicians on the scene, both from punk and metal bands in New York and Chicago mainly. So I put together this idea, First Jason, and our first album, Jason is Watching. It's got songs like Jason Never Dies, Machete is My Friend, Sink or Swim. You know, it's just all songs about Jason. And people just loved it. So we went on from there. One of our fan favorite albums is called Lord of the Lake. It's got our songs Voorhees is the Name and Kill for Mother. So then we kind of got noticed by some other bands like Incantation and Twisted and Ice Nine Kills. So Spencer Charnas from Ice Nine Kills asked me to sing on the acoustic version of their Friday the 13th song. And then he sang on one of our songs, which you can watch on YouTube. It's called The Scapegoat. And so a lot of these collaborations really helped a lot. And so then we've been touring all over the United States and Canada. We were up in Niagara Falls. We had a really big show one Halloween. That was not last Halloween, the one before. And that's what got us signed to CDN Records. So the label CDN Records, they had a great idea. I think you'll like this. They said, why don't you ask Harry Manfredini, the soundtrack composer of Friday the 13th, to collaborate with you on this album? So he did. And the new album, Into the Fray, which dropped on October 13th, is selling great. And it's available from CDN Records. So we thought Harry was just going to send us one introduction for the whole album. But we have 7 songs, and he gave us 7 introductions. So it's like you have a cinematic piece by Harry Manfredini. Each one is about a minute long before each of our metal songs on this album. So it's just a great listen, and it's a lot of fun. And that's where we are now. You know, we were on tour all October. We played at Mohegan Sun Casino. We played over at the big amusement park, Cedar Point, and we're always touring all over the place. And yeah, we got to play in UK twice at For the Love of Horror, which is in Manchester, England. I highly recommend everybody goes to that show. Also, I've Silver Screen Con is doing a pop-up in December in London, by the way. Silver Screen Con is Ice Nine Kills' own convention. So last year we got to play there, and we opened for In This Moment and Ice Nine Kills and Avatar, and there was like 10,000 people there. So, you know, things are looking up.
Oh wow. Yeah, I like a couple of weeks ago, I went to for the Love of Horror for the very first time, and I
Oh,
had an
hell yeah.
absolute blast like over the full weekend. What's your experience? Because you said you've been there twice. Like, what's your experience been there like?
Oh my God, that's one of the best shows. And I think that we really have to pay attention to shows like For the Love of Horror and Silver Screen Con and Astronomicon, because the old version of fandom is kind of slowing down. And the new version, which includes rock bands and metal acts and, these big bands are showing up. So you've got uh, all of those younger crowd that loves music is showing up, and you're creating a new vibe. I mean, the team at For the Love of Horror, they do For the Love of all these different things. They're really great, and they make sure everybody gets there safely and is wonderfully taken care of and all that stuff. But more importantly, I love the setup where it's like it's in the arena. So
Yeah,
you're there, it's like boom, it's like they have the panels there. And we played on stage there with Tim Capello and Corey Taylor was there. Oh my God, it was something else. They had the Cherry Bomb act there on the trapeze, fire dancing, and just absolutely incredible. So yeah, they have a vision which is just so exciting. And I think that, and the last time I was there, wow, it was just packed, and they had brought in some real heavy hitter celebrities, to tell you the truth. So I think that they're getting better and better.
yeah. One of the the heavy hitters, Linda Blair was there.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, like I got her autograph, like my Exorcist box set autographed off her, and Jamie Kennedy, and like
Oh
loads of other celebrity, like just Nick Castle. Like I got him to
yeah.
do it.
The
Like
first Michael. Yeah.
yeah, like that's what I'm saying. I want him on the channel. I want the first Jason to meet the first Michael as a collab.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I know Nick. Me and Nick have met, years ago, and he's a great character. I love Nick, man. He's great. Yeah.
Right, finally, um, going to all these horror conventions and
Hmm.
everything, like it must mean the world to you that like from Friday the 13th, after all these years that it's been out, that like the people that have seen it, but like new generations of all these people are wanting to come up to you, talk to you, get things signed. You must get a kick out of it.
Well, you're 100% correct. And it's well said the way you said it. It does mean the world to me. It really does, Anthony. I never take it for granted. And well, let's put it this way. Um, all of the great monsters in history, whether it was Godzilla, King Kong, or even the Death Star, was just an idea in a writer's head. So all you writers out there, just use your imagination and write and come up with ideas, because who knew that this idea, which started out in one form and transformed into another, and then, just keeps changing because of the fans. So now Jason is like part of world mythology. Jason is part of American folklore, like Paul Bunyan or something. So um, to me, it's an experience that it's the imagination of the writers and the actors together, but that has to be met by the imagination of the audience. That's why Jason is so great, because all of those people, and as you point out, now it's been 45 years, man. Wow. So that's really like two generations. So yes, I do see families come up to the table, and I never take it for granted, and I'm so gratified and so grateful. The great actor Sid Haig, who played Captain Spaulding, taught me something, and that's to ask the people who show up at the table, what's their experience? What is their experience with Friday the 13th and First Jason and the character that I was so fortunate to play? And that's when you hear amazing stories about where they were and who they saw it with. And I've heard just the craziest stories about, like Marines in Afghanistan in a tent, trying to scare the rookie by showing him Friday the 13th. And I scared the Marine off his bunk, and I hear so many wonderful stories of, just, my aunt who was so into horror, and she's not with us anymore. And every time I see that movie, it makes me think of her. That's gone beyond my contribution. That's everybody coming together. And that's what storytelling is all about, Anthony.
Well, that's it. You have answered all my questions. That's the end of our interview. So look, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day and just coming here chatting about everything, about your music, about being on the film, your career, and everything like that. So
I want to thank you too, man. What do you call the your
YouTube?
Say what?
It's Anthwood Movie Mania, but I'll send you a collaboration on Instagram. I'll send you a thing like when it's.
So you have a YouTube channel too?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, this is going on YouTube now. This is like live on
Fantastic.
YouTube.
Well, thank you so much, brother. And if we listen, when we get back, because we will be back at For the Love of Horror for sure, because they love us and we love them. So then you can add a live interview to this interview when you get there.
Yeah, if I'm there, that will definitely be happening.
You gotta be there.
And that is it. Thank you to Ari Lehman for coming on this channel. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who was watching, who was going to watch this interview. I've had an amazing time. As always, I'm Anthwood Movie Mania. That is Ari Lehman. And as always, please like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.
Jason never dies. Thank you, bro.